All right, kids. Welcome to the podcast, Everyday Nerds.
Welcome podcast.
Welcome podcast. Ugh. English hard. Even me, I'm English. Of course, then again, for most people in this world, in England, in America, English is hard if you hear them speak. I'm just retarded. But anyways,
That one.
right? Anyways, and I'm Global Outcast, and that is my co-host,
The anime Shogun.
the one and only. And today we're going to be finishing up our little Hobbit trilogy with the Battle of the Five Armies, which...
The battle of the Five Mountains. That's what I thought you were gonna say.
All right, let's start it off.
Five Mountains.
Let's start it off. What are your two favorite parts?
Favorite parts. Let's see. Well, the first one is when the Iron Foot soldiers show up.
Yep, all of them are riding. Most of them are riding on
No.
fucking.
It was cavalry that were riding on the hogs.
Nope, only the generals riding on the hogs. The rest of them were riding on goats.
Yes, that's right. But the cavalry were on the goats, generals were on the hogs, and Dane shown up. And the first thing he sits there and he just instantly starts running his mouth to the elves. Like, do you mind if we just starting off?
You pointy-eared princess! Oh, I fucking live Billy Connolly as him.
But not only that, but at the same time, him sitting there talking shit to Gandalf about Thranduil. And sitting there saying, let's pretty the ground with this elven blood.
Yep.
Just the amount of shit talking he does. And you could fucking just feel the confidence off of him.
Yeah.
That or I don't care for Orlando Bloom. I liked him as Legolas in the Lord of the Rings, but him in fucking in the Hobbits I did not care for. It felt kind of CGI.
I don't even think he was in the original book series of with Legolas as Legolas.
No, we said that on the last episode where we talked about that.
Yep.
But I would say my other favorite moment is literally when they are where Thrain and the two brothers and the one bald dwarf are literally taking goats up to the mountain.
Yep.
Up to, what is it, Raven Tower?
I think so.
But taking up to Raven Tower, and you just see them, and the one bald guy just fucking throwing hands.
Yep. My two favorite ones. The first one you might be a little proud is when the White Wizard and Elrond comes in to save Gandalf, and Elrond just looks at him. You should have stayed dead.
Oh yeah, when they're at
Yep.
they're at the Necromancy Tower, not the tower, but there was a certain name for it, but I do not recall it. But yes, the what's her name? The one elven
Galadriel
queen shows up. Thank you, Galadriel. She shows up and she just starts mopping the floor with them. Then Elrond shows up and you don't fuck with him as a swordsman. Yeah, that would be my third one. And then Saruman with a fucking staff. Come on.
I'm sitting there.
Old man's got fucking talent.
I'm sitting there, I'm like, motherfucker. That is my first favorite one. That is my first favorite moment right there, because you just see those two beating ass and taking names. Then Galadriel comes in, and I'm sitting like, do not piss that lady off. Holy shit.
Right? Yeah, that was my favorite part. That would be my second favorite part right there. Is when Elrond and Saruman show up. And they are just mopping the floor with the ring wraiths. Like, come on, you're fucking like you're ghosts. Let's fucking these ghosts are gonna catch these hands. Let's go.
My favorite line from that one is, "You should have stayed dead." With Elrond. Oh my god, that just.
I think Elrond knew who it was in general. Not like he knows who the ringwraiths are. They're the 9 generals essentially to Sauron.
Yep.
But I think he knew automatically who was the necromancer, and I think that's why he said that.
Yep. Yep. And my second favorite part is after the 13 dwarves come out. My second favorite part is when you see Thorin start to regain his senses, and you see him battling with himself in that floor full of gold, and you just see him.
Oh yeah, when he was dealing with the dragon's curse.
Yep.
I gotcha.
Yep, I loved that scene because you could see him all of it and just fighting himself, and that was a really good moment.
Yeah, that really kind of showed you the struggle with that too.
Yep.
But like for me, so going into depth in the very first moment was my favorite. Is when Thorin's literally sitting there and he's contemplating on, should I give up or should I literally start a fucking war? And he's literally just kind of waiting to see if his cousin or his nephew or no, not his nephew, his uncle, because they're all related somehow.
I think that was his cousin that showed up.
Yeah, I believe it's his cousin. But he's literally waiting, and you just see the raven land right next to him. He looks up, and you start to see the foot soldiers show up. And the moment that raven landed, and he instantly knew Gandalf, you could tell Gandalf's reaction was, "Oh shit, here we go again."
Yeah, I like that moment when he was talking to Bilbo about him. Honestly, I found Thorin out of the two, I found Thorin more reasonable. I'm like, that's not good, especially from what we've seen in the last couple movies. That's not good.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Dane was not a strict ruler, but he's not somebody who could be reasoned with.
Yeah. I think my third one, or an honorable mention, would have to be after those dwarves come out of the mountain and they're whooping ass, and you just see the fat one just start belly bouncing everyone.
He's just literally fucking belly bouncing all of them. Fucking yeah.
Then you have one motherfucker who's hard headed, and you just see him connect with one orc.
That's the bald one that literally looks like he's angry all the time. He's got the tattoos on his head. He's literally headbutting everybody.
And you just see him headbutting, fighting with one of them, and you see the two other dwarves is all like, "Quick, give him back up!"
Yeah.
And they push the one orc off the cliff. Then you have the moment where the dude with the funny hat, I like him, stole a mount from the orcs. That thing with the chain in his eyes, and that's how they controlled it also. Stole it from them. I'm like, fucking beautiful.
The other part that I think I would like is literally when the fucking werebear is being dropped by the eagles.
Oh yeah, he just
fucking mid free falling, and he's starting to transform. He lands and he just starts mopping the floor with the orcs.
Yep, that old man, and also the old man dwarf who he wanted to go out, but he survived.
Oh yeah.
I'm sitting there like, motherfucker's going out like a fucking trooper. How the fuck did he survive?
Wasn't that Balin?
I think so. I never.
I think he was like the keeper of knowledge. I believe that was Balin.
Yeah, I don't remember all their names. Then the twins.
Balin is the one. If you're referring to the old guy, Balin is the one that told Frodo, or not Frodo, but Bilbo, he needs to leave.
Yeah.
That I believe is Balin.
Excuse me. Yeah, I don't remember all their names. I do know the twins died, so that sucked.
Well, yeah, one of them got stabbed in the chest, and the other one, they both got stabbed, I believe, because one, he was looking for his brother because he knew it was a trap. He was looking for his brother. The white orc, I think, pierced him with the sword hand he's got.
Yep.
And the one brother who was in love with
the elf,
Liv Tyler's character, or not Liv Tyler's, but what's her name?
I don't remember.
She's familiar. I forgot what her. It's not Eowyn, but it's another name. I forgot. But the one dwarf that was in love with the elf basically saw his brother die. Then he goes to try to fight the one orc that was fighting Legolas, because that orc was going to kill the elven chick, and he ends up getting stabbed with the fucking pointy mace. That part kind of pissed me off.
Yep.
Then she's all like knocked out, and the whole love kind of thing kind of annoyed the hell out of me a little bit. And then the one thing I did like, and I thought this was kind of a very, very good redeeming for movie wise, I thought it was a very good reference point and a very good kind of moment, was after all the fighting, and I believe it's sometime before or after Thranduil talks to the elven lady, and he's kind of starting, I think, to realize he was twisted and wicked, and he realizes, no, that wasn't right.
Yep.
When he finally turned around and told her, no, it's love, and it's okay for you to love him.
That was...
Which is...
Yeah, that was after he talked to Legolas about what you're going to talk about.
Right, I was going to get to that point, but my point was, the thing I really liked and I thought was redeeming was that Thranduil knew of Aragorn and told Legolas to go seek him out.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's his name? And he's like, you will have to figure that out by yourself.
Yep.
He goes by Strider.
Yep.
And as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, yes.
Yeah. That was going to be another one of those honorable mentions where she talked about, and she goes, if this is love, take it away from me. I do not wish for it. I'm like, that is a fucking sad moment. But that moment where you see the lines connecting everywhere in the Hobbit universe, when he goes, seek Strider out. What's his name? What's his name? That is something you have to discover for yourself. And I'm all like, that is a fucking beautiful moment right there too. Motherfucker. Right. It was just awesome. All right, so what would you label this movie out of 5?
Action-wise, like with all the fighting and everything, I would definitely go out of 5. Like the action, it felt more good. Well, I shouldn't say more good because that just sounds like I'm heh. But I don't know. It felt like it had more action to it. It felt like it did introduce things that they never introduced that should have been introduced, like the worms that were tunneling.
Yep.
It kind of gives you a little bit of insight into there are other creatures and other beings in Middle Earth that the Lord of the Rings does not cover.
Oh yeah.
That the Hobbit somewhat started to cover, and if they make more Lord of the Rings franchises, like movies, whatever, hopefully we'll see more. But action-wise, I would definitely go 4.5 out of 5. Story-wise, probably a solid 3.5 out of 5. Like, the story was good. I know some people that are really into the books and really into the lore are probably going to disagree with that, and that's all right. I felt as a standalone movie, action-wise and story-wise, 3.5, 4.5 out of 5.
I would kind of have to agree with you. 3.5 for the whole story, 4.5 for the action. I would kind of have to agree with you on that aspect.
Okay, you say kind of have to. So what are you disagreeing with?
I don't know. That's the weird part. But I'd have to kind of agree with you on that part, just because it felt like a better conclusion. And then I think the only part is I wish they don't do more Lord of the Rings franchises, just because of how I know everything goes with Hollywood. They will try instead, because from my understanding, what Peter Jackson did is he didn't try to make it his own. He honored the source material and tried his best to do it that way. Whereas Rings of Power did it.
Right, but we're not talking Rings of Power right now.
No. And So that's
I
what.
want Hollywood to do more because there's a guy I work with. I won't name his name for safety reasons.
Shout out to
Me
him
and him
though.
had this conversation, huh?
Said shout out to him though.
Well, he okay. I'm gonna say this because he's a big nerd like us,
Yep.
and I know he follows us. Shout out to my buddy at work. Thank you for helping us out for the follow. Um, that being said, I do agree with something he had brought to me, with something like The Hobbit.
Mm-hmm.
The Hobbit was not all that great. It was great in the sense of in a standalone 3-part movie or 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it was good. But the thing that it was lackluster is there was not a lot of lore. It was basically just them walking to a mountain and there was some battles here and there. It was fine. But I think and I see where you're coming from. But in that sense, Hollywood needs to make more, and they need to start following more close to the source material. We need to have more of the folklore or the lore in the background of, in the sense of like, we need to have a Lord of the Rings where we introduce Morgoth,
Yeah.
Sauron's master. We need to see, like, Rings of Power. I do not think did Lord of the Rings justice. I haven't watched it yet. That'll probably be something I watch for background noise. But that is just something that has piqued my, that is something that a buddy of mine had brought up. There was not a lot of lore behind The Hobbit, and there needed to be more.
Yeah. I agree with you 100% on that, but I don't think they will. I wish they would. What couple moments?
Hollywood won't, right? Yeah. Hollywood won't. In that sense, but I think you should have probably worded that, because them fighting words by sitting there saying wishing Hollywood doesn't. I get where you're coming from. I fully agree that Hollywood will always ruin, but you can't sit there and say that that's a for sure thing too, because Hollywood does tend to make some good movies that do follow close to the source materials. There have been some. There has been some. I will say that. We can fight on this tomorrow.
Few and far between. But because I would love to see something similar to The Hobbit somewhere else in Middle Earth, learning more about Middle Earth. Hell, even do something with the Silmarillion, which would be amazing. Talking about their god, the angels, and all that stuff, and learning about the First Age War, learning about Morgoth.
Okay, so yeah, that being said, I don't know that I don't think there was a lot of lore for gods and that stuff and angels. I wouldn't want that. But I would sit there and say I would like to see them do a little bit more lore of Morgoth, how Mordor was. Literally the First Age, the Second Age, fucking the Third Age, I would like to see all of that, because look at Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War.
Yeah.
The Lord of the Ring game. Yep. That gives you a little bit of an insight with Sauron and how the rings were made. Yep. And I don't know if Rings of Power kind of goes with that sense too, in that same sense. But I want to see the Ringmaker. I want to see the story, because they talk about it in the Lord of the Rings of literally all the Rings of Power being made.
Yeah.
But there was time before that. There was a time I would like to see. Give me a solo movie of the Númenórean age.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Of the island of Númenor.
What about a solo Aragorn movie of him growing up?
That's what I'm saying by the Númenórean age, because he is a descendant of the Númenóreans.
Yeah, I thought when you said Númenórean age, I thought you were talking about like Númenóreans in their heyday.
Well, that too. I would literally want a solo movie of the Númenóreans and how they defeated Sauron.
Yeah.
Or not Sauron, but Morgoth, because Sauron hates the Númenóreans.
Yeah.
And I do not remember, but there is lore and there is a story behind that, and I believe they had something to do with the fall of Morgoth.
I'll have to re-listen to the audiobook on Silmarillion, because that's what I have right now.
But I would want to do that. I don't know. I would want to see like an Aragorn origin story, essentially. I don't know. That's like Aragorn's my guy, but at the same time, I don't know. It would have to really depend on how they would do it and if they did it right. I would have to go back into the lore and find his more like his origin story, how he grew up and all that. Find the source material that I could turn around and tell you yes or no. I'm not sure. I like the mystery behind him. But as you say, that does bring up a good point and a good thing to bring up too. And like I said, I'm not 100% on that. I would have to go by the source material.
Understandably. What are
But you bring up a good point, though. I will say that you bring up a good point.
Yeah, and it's just I love this when it comes to books or things I love keeping a close eye on it, especially with the source material, because I understand you can't do it eye for eye with everything because it'll either be boring as fuck the entire way through until you get to the end, or B, it'll be too long. So I understand you have to change some things, cut some things out, but at least honor the source material in one way or another.
Right.
Don't make it your own. Don't be like, we know better than you. You're the creator of this universe, but we know better. And it just bugs me when they do shit like that, especially in the Lord of the Rings that's been around forever. And it shows that the fans will respond with the Lord of the Rings if you fuck up a franchise that is so precious to to pretty much any nerd.
Right, like I said, you bring up a fair point. You bring up a good point.
I think I'm just scared they'll fuck it up again because I don't want them to fuck it up. Give it a few years, they'll try to redo the Lord of the Rings and fuck it up that way, which would get the nerds up in arms again.
Look at how everything is going up to this point now. I almost guarantee. Look at how they did the Flash movie. The Flash movie was not great.
No.
That new one that they did.
No.
But we'll save that for an episode, my guy.
Yeah. Ooh, fun fact about this one. Peter Jackson hates Harry Weinstein so much he made an orc in his likeness.
Harry Weinstein.
He's the dude that got caught black couching any actors or actresses that wanted to be famous.
What the hell is black couching?
If you want this part, suck my dick.
Oh.
Or if you want this part, sleep with me. I have the power. You will do whatever I say, type of thing.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing about that. Because wasn't there a guy that did the same thing on, like, for Nickelodeon stars? Like the girls on Nickelodeon?
Yeah, Dan Schneider. From my understanding, he was a creeper. But yeah, he made Peter Jackson made a likeness in him, which I found hysterical.
Nice.
Yeah. I am excited for eventually when we watch Lord of the Rings because I get to see Gimli, my boy.
Yeah, I will bring up this now when we do get to Lord of the Rings. I'm calling dibs on the fucking kill counts they're doing.
Fuck you. Fucking love that. Oh, all right. Then I call on right before the battle in the second one. When like, would you like a box? I can't see anything. Would you like a box?
Fine,
Stand down.
I'll give you that one because the scene I'm gonna take is when you say that one. The scene I'm taking is in the extended version. The orc Gimli is sitting on an orc, and an Uruk-hai, and he is twitching, and Legolas shoots it, and he says a number. He's like, "Yeah, he's twitching because he's got my
axe in his skull." Yeah. All right, I'll give you that one only if I get to have the part where Legolas slides down the stairs on a shield like it's a fucking surfboard.
Okay, done.
That is by far one of my favorite moments.
Done.
Lord of the Rings brings out the best in everyone.
It's something we can all nerd about.
It is. It really is. We still got 5 minutes, folks. So, one question I want to ask all the viewers that are listening, either on YouTube or anything like that has a comment selection. Tell us your favorite moments, how you rate the Hobbit movies, not the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit series.
Yeah, we kind of nerded out about Lord of the Rings a little too much there.
Hey, I can name this episode Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Rings lore or something.
Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Rings lore and
And I can name I'll name it
Jesus.
I'll name it something Lord of the Rings and lore or some shit like that.
This is the Hobbit, how it should have had more lore to it, and yeah. But no, Battle of Five Armies, again, as a solo thing, I thought it was good for kind of a prequel to Lord of the Rings. There should have been more lore to it. There should have been more lore.
There should have been more build up to the lore, yes. Like them sitting around a campfire talking about stuff in
No, I'm going to stop you there. That's where I'm going to argue.
Ooh.
No, I don't want a build up to lore. I mean, there should have been more lore to it. There were so many locations where they could have gotten a little more in depth with the lore. The thing that a buddy of mine and I am going to point out is the whole Gandalf and the fucking moth, his mouth moth is what it's called, did not take place in the books.
Really?
In the books, literally the eagles were flying around. They saw the fighting and they came in to help. Gandalf did not fucking summon them with a mouth moth. That should not have been in the movie. I'm sorry. I like Gandalf and I know he's an OP wizard. But literally given this facade and this fake story of he can control the eagles and summon the eagles, no. The only people that probably have close relation to the eagles are the elves because of the fact that they live in the woods.
Yeah.
Because I know that there was something, I remember reading it somewhere, and I know it's in the game, in one of the games I was playing too. The elves had the power to summon an eagle. And that was in one of my games.
Yeah.
Other than that, nobody could control the eagles, not any fucking wizards. None of that. So on that, I'm going to argue that should not have been in the movies at all. Him summoning the eagles. Even in Lord of the Rings, he should not have summoned the eagle with a fucking mouth moth.
Understandably.
And so they needed to do more. That's why I mean by they need to do more lore behind these movies too.
Yeah. So that way they can get the proper thing going and everything like that. I can understand and respect that.
Right. Shout out to my buddy at work because he is the one who brought it to my attention, and that's something I felt like I was going to need to argue on our podcast.
Yep.
Is the whole they need more lore because Gandalf using a fucking mouth moth. Anybody who's listening, if you're watching any of the Lord of the Rings, go ahead and go on Twitter, do hashtag Lord of the Rings, hashtag the Hobbit, hashtag mouth moth. But that being said, that is the biggest thing I will argue is that never happened in the books. The eagles were flying over, saw the fighting, and decided to help out. He did not summon them. That just angers me. I could feel my blood fucking boiling already.
I expect you to pull the me moment and do all sorts of fun fact moments for the Lord of the Rings movies when we do those eventually.
I will, because I'm definitely going to be rereading and definitely looking up more of the lore, because I have 2 of the books.
I have the 3 books on audiobook.
I don't have an audiobook because I'm not a fucking loser.
I like to listen to it at work. Eat me.
Well, I can't listen to shit at work. So, you could suck my balls.
It's because you're a
that
noob.
Being said... Actually, I don't feel like getting written up because if I get written up, I'm just going to turn around and tell them they could suck my balls too. But point is, I don't listen to audiobooks. I have the hard copies of the last 2 books of Lord of the Rings, 2 Towers, and the Return of the King. I do not have the Fellowship. I will be trying to find the book of the Fellowship.
Okay.
So I can get caught up on stuff like that. That being said, though, because we've got a minute left before you can suck my balls too.
Ooh.
Yes, I do want to bring up the whole they need to do a better job with the lore behind this stuff. They do. I will say that.
Yeah, they do. They really, really do. All right, folks. It has been fun. But in the end, it's time for you guys to leave and go do something else because...
Hey, will you shut the fuck up and hurry up and end this shit already?
Fine, be that way.